Hi, creative friends. This is Kristen Fagan here. I'm feeling the call to relax and rejuvenate. And so I just want to talk to you a little bit about time to relax, time to give yourself places and spaces to rejuvenate. And I will say, like, I've had some time where I had one day entirely where I just watched Netflix and like finished an entire series and gave myself a lot of rest. But rest does not always feel like rejuvenation to me. That's a little bit different. It's almost like when you're rejuvenated, you've given yourself the ability to transform your energy and you're ready to kind of tackle things again. And even though I've had a bit of rest, I don't feel ready. So I'm changing my focus this month from just resting to what can I do? What are some things that I know will rejuvenate me, would make me feel like I've really given my soul a break, and I've focused on things that light me up in a way that rejuvenates me to come back stronger, right? So it's important, like creative energy is life force energy, and you need to make sure that you give yourself time to focus on what really lights you up without an agenda or a deadline or a project and things you're working on, which, as wonderful of all those things are, sometimes you just need space to just let the inspiration come and go, and maybe try some new materials or just kind of lose yourself in it a little bit. I was sitting on the ground in my studio, like, cross-legged, looking through some supplies, and I was just like, oh, this feels really good. I haven't sat like on my floor in a while, or grounded outside and did any earthing, if you know what that is, when you really kind of let your feet feel the earth. We have grass in both of our front and back, but in the summertime, they just get covered with ants. The ants are relentless this time of year. And so you really can't sit and I love that. I love being able to sit in the grass. Growing up in the East Coast, grass was like always abundant and around, and feeling my feet in the grass and being able to sit in the cool grass, that feels rejuvenating and restorative. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for too, is something to restore, those deep feelings. But you can't sit in the grass here, or at least I can't. We've got ants all over. It's like you go out there for 5 minutes and they find you. So looking for some opportunities to ground this month would be really great, or earthing, putting my feet in some grass or some water. I love water. Water is another really big one for me. And we could take, putting your feet in water and just being around water, listening to water. I haven't been at the lake in a while. This month, taking some divine care of ourselves and our bodies, so we have the capacity for more creative life force energy to flow through us, right? That's where I'm at. So I know rejuvenating could feel like producing stuff, like trying to get that energy going again, trying to reinvigorate, but I'm looking at it as a way of slowing down so that I can move forward for the rest of the year, and giving myself time to be in that quiet space. We're all very cyclical, like the moon cycles, and we have to give ourselves time to grow and wax and be energetic, and then wane and slow down and let go. If you're going to do a little creative prompt with me, I've got a sketchbook, and we're gonna do some line art. So you can use things like pen, marker, I've also got some pastels here and some Inktense blocks and some colored pencils. I thought I'll show you the prompt and then we can maybe try it out in a few different materials and see how it feels, and you can grab whatever you have and what you want to join me with. And I think you can use watercolor or paint for this process too. I don't see why not, but I'm going to stick to more of the dry mediums today. Let's see. Little unstructured time doing a little line art. Line art is one of the simplest forms of art, and it is a great way to relax and to draw and to, you know, just sort of do something kind of simplistic in nature. So I'm going to turn you down to my sketchbook table, and I think I'll start with colored pencils. I think I'm going to grab a blue and a green. Surprise, surprise. My favorites. Okay, so I'm going to hold one color in my left hand and one color in my right hand. Maybe I'll grab the darker green. And we are going to do what is called bilateral drawing. Some people refer to this as scribbling with both hands because the intent is not necessarily to make something specific, but instead to just engage both hands in spontaneous drawing with some easy to manipulate art materials. So drawing with both hands is something that will help you slow down. It'll help you relax and enjoy the moment. You know, it's a mindful practice. And many people report feeling freedom, playfulness, and that sounds really lovely, doesn't it? It helps us access and connect to our brain and our body. It's good for eye and hand coordination, and we're just making marks and expressing ourselves. It's not complicated at all, and it's a nice way to access some flow. So I have some music on. I don't know if you can hear it at all, but I did sort of just kind of keep it really low in the background because I do think that doing something like this to music is really nice. You can follow the rhythm of what you're hearing and allow that to just help you relax and play. So I'm just gonna start, and basically what I'm trying to do is I'm just gonna relax and make marks and try and move my hands in like similar positions so that I'm making kind of a mirror image, but you'll find that one hand, depending on which is dominant and non-dominant, is going to produce a little bit different of a mark. Even just holding it feels so strange on my non-dominant hand. Maybe I'll play and just switch and see how the colors, I found that the colors on the left are quite a bit lighter because my pressure on my non-dominant hand is lighter compared to what I can do with my dominant hand. So let's just see how this comes out. This is fun. So you can stop right here. This was enough to be like a part of this kind of practice. Or you can decide to really play with the shapes that you've now created. You could do some mark making inside of these openings. Now I'm just creating some lines on the right, and then I can do the same thing over here. I'm gonna try and do it with my non-dominant hand, but at this point you could stop and decide you wanna do it with your dominant hand, but I'm gonna see how it feels to just keep going with my non-dominant hand on the left. If you've ever heard of the idea of Zentangles, it is like a mark making practice. You can kind of create little shapes inside of these other shapes. Very relaxing. So you can then kind of move on and use the idea of Zentangles if you want to. So this is using colored pencil, nothing fancy. You can even do this with just pencil and pen if that's all you have, because the color part is just sort of something extra. The practice is really using the two hands. I'm gonna flip this page and I'm gonna grab a different material. And we're gonna do a little kind of energy calling in. So I am gonna use some oil pastels. These are just student quality crayons. I've had these since I was in school. That is a long time ago. So these things last forever. As you can see, some of them are really down to nothing. And I should probably get some new ones. Let's do blue and purple this time. And let's talk a little bit about the energy we want to call in. So on this page, I'm gonna say something like, I'd like to move the energy of, and then whatever energy you're feeling right now, and then I want to feel more of the energy you want to feel. So maybe I want to move the energy of feeling a little burnt out. So I'd like to move, I'm going to start with that. I'd like to move the energy of feeling burnt out. And I want to bring in more energy of feeling relaxed and rejuvenated. I want to move the energy of feeling burnt out, and I want to bring in the energy of relaxation and rejuvenation. And then I'm gonna switch my colors again like I did on the other one, just because I think that's kind of fun. Just because I want to. So I just pick a spot and I try and pick kind of the same spot on each page. And I want to move the energy out of burnout, and I want to call in the energy of relaxation. And then again, you can do the same thing that we did with the other one if you want to. You can kind of play with these pages and kind of use them as a jumping off point. Oil pastels are very fun to smudge. So you can use a smudge stick or you can use your finger. Just know you're gonna get it on your finger. So then we can kind of smudge it around. Maybe we just pick a few areas to smudge. And then smudge on the left side. And as you're getting closer to being done, you can thank your energy for moving along. Thank you, burnout energy, for moving along and allowing that relaxation to come through. I affirm that I am feeling more relaxed. And if you want to, you can even write a little note to yourself on these pages. Thank you, energy, for moving along, or what you were trying to move the energy of and what you were calling in. I really like getting my fingers messy. So there's just such a tactile, like, feeling that just lights me up when I smush things around. You can do this with finger painting if you wanted to, and just use your fingers for paint and in the same way. So play around with lots of different types of materials, whatever feels good for you. So you've got colored pencils. This one is the oil pastels. You could do markers. I have some markers here. I think these are both permanent markers. Yeah, they are. So you could do markers, and they're all gonna feel a little different. All right, so now I'm gonna try that one more time with markers. So I'm gonna start, maybe I'll start on this side here. And I'm just gonna try and listen to the music. This process is giving me the chills right now in the most wonderful way. I'm not sure why, but maybe it's trying to kind of focus in on the music a little bit more. What is that called? Kinetic energy? Look at that. It's so fun to see how different and how the same they are, right? Trying to connect your two sides of your brain. Working with and how in reality, like this would be the same, but my mind went here. So I'm kind of going in like, if I would have put the pages together, that would have been the dot. So that's interesting, because I could have started here where they're kind of the same place on the same page, but my mind wanted to kind of put them on this side where they would kind of connect if I were to close the pages. And then again, you can switch your colors if you want, or you can use maybe the second color to take time to add some marks in open spaces. So now on this one, I decided to just use my right hand to add some fun details in the opposite color. Pages like this are really fun because you never know what is going to come of it. It might just be a practice and a fun way to relax and unwind, and that's fantastic. Or it might be a jumping off point for an abstract piece later on down the line. Or maybe you start to see something in here. Maybe you start to see a face, or you start to see something that you want to kind of pull out. And just kind of play with. But the idea is just to relax and rest and not have to create anything in particular. Just engage. So super fun. All the different materials have kind of a different feeling to them. So experiment and see what you have, or maybe what you want to give a try to. And you could totally do something like this with paint as well if you wanted to do. I definitely could see watercolor being really nice for this process, or doing it with doing it with ink and then coming back with watercolor to color some things in. There's so many ways that you can use this idea as a jumping off point. Fran says, you have been busy. I have been busy. That is why my mind is ready to relax. It's ready to just hang out this month. So this one was marker. This one was oil pastel. And That one was colored pencil. I hope you'll give it a try. Move some energy along. Oh, this was so nice and relaxing with you today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And thank you for having this space where I can relax and rejuvenate a little bit while sharing with all of you. All right, bye everybody.